Coming up, fatal crashes strike the area. We break down spots to avoid as you hit the road. We're learning much more about the Fargo bishop accused of sexually abusing children, plus the latest from the courtroom in the double murder trial in Grand Forks. Valley News Live at 10 starts right now.
This is Valley News Live at 10.
Good evening and happy Friday, everyone. The biggest thing in the minds of many tonight, the forecast. Will Mother Nature and her fireworks affect your holiday weekend plans? For that answer, we head straight to Valley News Team's Chief Meteorologist, Hutch Johnson. Hutch.
Thank you, Stacy. Good evening, everyone. And what a week it's been. We've really ended on a very hot note, but another gorgeous setting sun as we take a look at our time lapse from Grand Forks. The flag in the picture, very red skies thanks to the particulate matter from fires out west and in Canada. Just look at that golden disc. Reddish disk sliding down below the horizon. As we head into the overnight hours now, temperatures are on their way down, but we're still quite warm, 70s and 80s for most areas now. And it does look like Saturday's forecast does bring near record temperatures. We'll have a few thunderstorms in the forecast, that fire danger high with winds gusting out of the south. We want to remind you too, with all of the hot temperatures, when air temperature's 90, in 10 minutes inside your car, we can have temperatures as warm as 110, 120, or 130 plus degrees within that first hour. Please check that back seat for pets and children. Now on to the forecast for tomorrow. Thunderstorms develop in the late afternoon, in the heat of the day, moving from the Devil's Lake Basin into the valley as we go into the late evening. I'll time these showers and storms out. One or two may be severe, Stacy, but by and large, it could be drier for the 4th. That'll be the benefit there. I'll have all those forecast facts in a few.
Some good news there. Thanks, Hutch. AAA predicted tonight to be the biggest travel time of the holiday weekend. And if the number of car crashes is any indication, they were right. We're seeing more and more accidents, especially in areas with work zones. Valley News Team's Aaron Walling breaks down where you could run into some trouble on the road.
This has been the scene all over the valley this evening. Accidents backing up traffic, and they center around work zones.
Don't be on your phone. Try not to limit or try to limit distractions in your vehicle while driving. And obviously obey the speed limit. Those work zones are reduced for a reason. A distracted or otherwise impaired semi-driver may be to blame for a fatal accident near Grand Forks involving 8 vehicles. Look at the scene. Multiple trucks, a boat, and several other vehicles strewn all over the road. Police say someone called reporting a semi swerving and driving recklessly minutes before it happened. The site, a notoriously problematic intersection near Gateway Drive and Highway 2, currently a construction zone. This is the 3rd reported crash on Highway 2 in work zones since yesterday. Be prepared for any potential changes that could happen in the work zone, especially during the daytime when it's active and people are working. Be conscious at all times. Make sure you have a safe following distance between all the vehicles around you. The North Dakota Highway Patrol wants to note some other spots to be aware of. Highway 2 is being worked on from East Grand Forks all the way to Fisher. Near Fargo, there are 5 different projects on I-29, spanning from Argosville to Oxbow. In Fargo, Aaron Walling. Just make good choices. That's the simple answer. You know, don't drink and drive, obviously.
Valley News Live.
The Minnesota Department of Safety reports 202 traffic deaths in the state just so far this year. It's the earliest to reach that mark since 2009. Many police departments are out with extra enforcement for drunk or distracted drivers. An update for you tonight. The woman accused of attempting to run people over at a funeral is facing a misdemeanor charge for criminal mischief. According to court records, it's for an event that took place April 17th. That's the same day the statue of Jesus was vandalized outside of a church in downtown Fargo. Whitten entered a not guilty plea this afternoon with a pretrial conference scheduled for later this month. She's also facing a misdemeanor charge for reckless endangerment after crashing her ex-boyfriend's funeral, where the victim's family says she tried to run them over with her car. Today was the second full day of testimony in the Grand Forks double murder trial. The state called neighbors and several Grand Forks law enforcement officers to take the stand. The officers were emotional, having to relive the tragic events of May 27, 2020, when their brother in blue, Officer Cody Holty, was shot and killed. Listen as Officer Andrew Rebel recalls seeing Officer Holty.
Based on your observations and your experience as a paramedic, did you have an assumption that you drew at that point in time?
Yes.
What was that assumption?
My assumption, based on the injuries that I saw, was that he was either dead or very close to death.
If convicted of the double murder of Officer Hulte and his own mother, Selma Pendleton could face life in prison. Testimonies are expected to resume Tuesday morning. Stick with Valley News Live for the latest. We're learning new information tonight about the deceased Fargo bishop on the list of clergy members with credible accusations of sexual abuse. The Diocese of Lansing, Michigan has been looking into accusations against James Sullivan, who was a priest in the area several decades ago. They found credible evidence of sexual misconduct with children. 2 male victims came forward who were minors at the time. The state attorney general's office brought the allegations to the Diocese of Lansing. A member of the Survivors Network of those abused by priests says this is another example of how the church failed its members.
No one knew more about the abuses, and no one did less than the diocese themselves.
The Fargo Diocese stands firm that there weren't any allegations against Sullivan during his time in Fargo. The White House has released a critical report on sexual assault in the military. Recommendations from an independent review commission include how to address sexual assaults in the military. They say the prosecution of assault allegations should be outside the chain of command. The report also cites a huge disconnect between what senior leaders believe is happening under their commands and what service members actually experience. The Justice Department has released body cam videos from the assault on the Capitol Hill tunnel recorded during the January 6th riot. The videos, which have graphic visuals and language, were released after media outlets sued prosecutors to gain access. This particular footage was released as part of the evidence collected against Frederico Klein, a former State Department employee. The Trump political appointee has pleaded not guilty to an 8-count indictment for allegedly assaulting police officers with a stolen riot shield. Evacuations were just ordered for hundreds of residents in another condo building in Florida, with officials saying their building is unsafe. Engineers completed a report saying the Crestview Towers condo, built in 1972, was structurally unsafe back in January. But that report was just released today. This building is in North Miami Beach, just 7 miles from Surfside, where the death toll is now 22 and 126 people are still unaccounted for after last week's condo collapse. Elsa has now strengthened into a hurricane, according to the National Hurricane Center. She's the first hurricane of the 2021 Atlantic hurricane season. As of this morning, Hurricane Elsa had sustained winds near 75 miles per hour with gusts to 86 miles per hour, according to surface observations from Barbados. Out of the mouths of babes, the FAA is enlisting children to help remind adults to behave during flights. A new public service announcement features kids speaking out against unruly and violent incidents. The FAA has received more than 3,200 reports of unruly passengers so far this year. The weather has been perfect at night for some overnight fishing this week, but the kind of fishing we're talking about now wasn't for pleasure, but for business. Sharon Yu tells us how it was part of an effort to remove invasive species from a lake.
They're all smaller fish.
Creatures of the night vary at Crystal Lake and Robbinsdale.
We caught
Tonight,
2,400 almost last time.
the party includes humans, gearing up for the hunt.
It's kind of like an arms race. They come up with a strategy to avoid what we have, and then we come up with a new strategy to outsmart them in a different way.
Gotta grab my hunting waders.
To successfully hunt the cunning
So you're gonna just get wet. You won't know what's sweat and what's fish.
requires a bit of creativity.
All right, guys,
The recipe
let's do this.
this time around is silence
5, 4.
and complete darkness
Go, go, go.
until there's not.
Go ahead.
Unsuspecting common carp are trapped
I just want to get this into our shore right now.
to be removed.
Common carp are really bad for water quality, especially when in large numbers.
Shake them loose.
First step you usually do is you find out how many you have, and if that amount of carp for the area of the lake is above a certain threshold, keep lifting that up. We recommend going in and removing as many as you can.
Brought in by immigrants from Europe more than 100 years ago, carp are harmful to the native species of Minnesota fish in lakes.
Make sure that stays on shore.
We'll just kind of keep a running total as we go.
They're also incredibly hardy.
19.
They find ways to move through almost no water.
59, 60.
That makes it really tough because obviously in Minnesota, our watersheds are connected by little creeks and swamps and marshes. That makes it great places for these guys to thrive.
96.
So when a population gets out of hand,
101, 102.
cities like Robbinsdale call guys like Jordan and Bo to take them out and haul them away.
But really, we want to just take out as many as possible.
Looking okay
So far.
The method is usually foolproof when it comes to avoiding catching other fish. But they get surprises here
Catch some fun stuff in our nets,
and there.
but no other fish other than carp.
As for the unlucky, grimy bunch,
These guys will get turned into compost, being fertilized for orchards. Hold this and take up some slack here. 2,
give a man a day and he'll fish hundreds of these out of the water.
7,
8.
But nature
46.
will have you know
That was 47.
it's not an easy one to outsmart, at least not overnight.
These guys will actually learn how to avoid things. So really, you just got to have as many options as possible to just keep chipping away.
Jordan and his team have been contracted by Robbinsdale to keep the carp population down this summer. They say when they started, they believed there were 10,000. Acceptable levels would be around 2,000. A pair of North Dakota brothers were fishing tonight, too. This evening in South Carolina, they competed in a national fishing tournament. Brandon and Logan Bullinger are Century High School students who made it to the high school fishing world semifinals. They won the North Dakota State Championship, and of the more than 400 teams competing, the brothers make up the only team from North Dakota. Sadly, the boys missed the cut tonight. They finished in 11th place in the semifinals. Still ahead, health experts now calling unvaccinated folks variant factories. What they say could happen if more people don't receive a COVID vaccine.
All right, some record temperatures are likely as we go through the weekend, particularly in Grand Forks tomorrow, when temperatures are likely to be warmer than 93 degrees. Some thunder in your forecast as well. I'll have hour-by-hour details so you can plan your holiday weekend right after this.